Out as a close rally will live on in tennis history. One sneer, shout and line call changed when Sabalenka and Eala exploded courtside. Everything was caught on camera. What started the entire contest? The crowd gasped, microphones recorded the commotion, and neither player gave up. Under pressure, Sabalenka's fury and Eala's disobedience collide. Points were no longer the main consideration. It is related to pride. Behind every serve and every glance, there was something deeper, something seething beneath the surface. When security stepped in, it was too late. The world had seen it. In just a few minutes, videos become viral on the internet. Fans were split as legends spoke up. Now everyone is asking the same question. What really happened at the courtside that day? It began long before the detonation. Long before the audience screamed and the headlines took over. Match after match and glance after glance, the competition between Aryna Sabalenka, the current dominant force in women's tennis, and Alexandra Eala, the up-and-coming prodigy eager to establish herself in that same elite sphere, has been simmering softly. Sabalenka was known for her fierceness and played with passion, emotion, and unbridled might. Her roar might shake a stadium. Her gaze could silence a camera. She was not just a competitor. She was fierce. But Eala represented something different. Serenity, control, and accuracy. She was a rising star who embodied the goals of a new generation, and her game was built on discipline and perseverance. Where Sabalenka flared brightly, time froze. Their paths initially crossed on the journey, and they exchanged a quick handshake. Those who saw it, nevertheless, understood that something unsaid started there. Maybe it was the disparate personalities. Maybe it was because when Sabalenka's bullets blasted past her, I didn't flinch. Or maybe there were rumors that the next big thing in tennis will come from the Philippines. The old guard didn't scare her either. Let's fast forward to this high-stakes encounter, which will take place in a packed arena under hot lights. On nights like this, legends are created or destroyed. Sabalenka was unconcerned despite being the favorite. Reporters saw her calm demeanor throughout warm-ups. Her look was unreadable as she wore earbuds and locked her eyes. However, Sabalenka wasn't like that. She was pacing and complaining to herself. Her coach's voice echoed from the sidelines, "Breathe. Just play your game." The first games were exciting. Every rally serves a purpose. The sound of the ball hitting the strings felt rougher and heavier, and each stroke appeared to carry a message. The top seed seemed shaken for the first time when Sabalenka's serve was broken early by Eala. A flash of frustration, a fist clenched. The crowd sensed it. The storm was approaching. Commentators began to gossip about their hostility. Someone said, "There's no love lost here. You can feel it. This is confidential." The score started to get increasingly competitive. Sweat shone in the lights. Eala's calm confidence only infuriated Sabalenka. A dangerous combo for someone who manipulates emotions. When I walked past Sabalenka during a changeover and their shoulders hardly touched, cameras caught the intense look. Sabalenka turned, her mouth tight and her eyes cold. At the time, the audience was not aware of it. But that one disobedient deed and that glance would be the spark that lit it all. When the chair umpire called time, more substantial than skill or strategy. It was more than just tennis now. Pride, reputation, and emotion mingled under the lights. And the explosion was only a few seconds away. It happened quite fast. The kind of moment that defines rivalry for all time. The score in the second set was 43. Tension that pierces the atmosphere like static. Eala was serving, her eyes calm and her rhythm flawless. But Sabalenka was furious, shrugging her shoulders, walking between points, and glaring at her opponent as though her eyes could break her. Then it happened. The phone conversation. Eala's serve crossed the boundary. The fans shouted as Sabalenka's hand instantly sprang up with a searing ace down the tee. "Get out." She screamed at the umpire. She had an incredulous look on her face. The chair umpire gave a cool but cautious shake of his head. The ball was terrific. For a moment, there was silence. That dangerous silence before mayhem. Sabalenka stepped closer to the net and argued in a powerful voice. That was removed. That. Sabalenka hated being ignored, especially in the context of the court. She turned to look at Eala. "Do you think that was in?" Ella finally answered in a sharp, low voice. The umpire maid gasped not because of what she said, but rather because of how she delivered it. She appeared to be the responsible adult in the room, calm and in charge. Pride, disbelief, and anger all crashing at the same time. The serve came next. Aryna hit the ball flawlessly after tossing it high. Another ace in the same location. This time, Sabalenka made no challenge. As she frustratedly swung her racket in the air, missing the ball she had thrown up to serve next, the crowd grumbled. You could sense the atmosphere shifting as something was falling apart. Commentators tried to remain awake. Sabalenka is getting sidetracked here. She is letting her emotions control her, according to one. Sabalenka played a forehand to win the following point. But as Eala passed, their shoulders came into contact once more. But this time, Sabalenka totally turned to face her. "Keep an eye on your footing," she shouted. AA didn't waver. Instead than focusing on the player, focus on the ball. In an instant, it exploded. Sabalenka dropped her racket and came over to Eala, shouting something that was only partially recorded by the microphones. The umpire stepped up and said, "Calm down." Security approached, ready but not yet on the court. The crowd was buzzing and trying to capture the moment when the composure shattered, with phones out and cameras capturing from every angle. The coach even stood up and motioned for her to get away, but she did not. Two players, one motivated by defiance and the other by rage, stood just a few meters apart and refused to blink. The final spark came when the umpire called a code violation. Verbal abuse, Miss Sabalenka. The stadium descended into chaos. Cheers, applause, and boos. No one knew where they stood. Sabalenka's answer. She laughed. Corrosive, frigid, and dangerous. And cameras moving in all directions captured the exact moment. Aryna Sabalenka, the world's greatest player, lost it. Eala glanced away, her jaw tightening, but the damage was already done. The tranquility was shattered. Instead of skill, the game had turned into a contest of ego. In just a few minutes, the video was everywhere. Both fanphone clips and slow-motion replays from broadcast cameras show the same event. While authorities raced to restore order, Aryna Sabalenka yelled over the internet as she charged toward Alexa. The internet doesn't wait for explanations. It generates its own. Hashtags like #tennismeltdown and #AlyvaBalenka shot to the top of Twitter in less than an hour. Some called it dishonor, while others called it desire. A fan said, "This isn't competition, it's chaos. What has happened to sportsmanship?" Another said, "What makes Sabalenka great is her fire. Don't paint her in a negative light." But it wasn't just fans. Analysts, journalists, and former players all stepped in. Tennis legend Chris Ever tweeted, "Respect should never leave the court, but emotions are part of the game." Meanwhile, a sports blogger came up with a headline that went viral. "Eala has a towering stature. Even Sabalenka was unable to distract her." Back at the competition, the anxiousness just became worse. During the next shift, the camera concentrated on both benches. Sabalenka's coach leaned forward and stated in a desperate attempt to ground her. Ella sat silently with a towel over her head, without even looking across the court. There was silence before another storm. Then the huge screen displayed the replay. The shoulder hump. The audience erupted as the incident was repeated. Sabalenka's genius. Ella passed by casually and gasped. "Alcohol. Enjoy yourself." The arena was divided in two. The umpire had to stop the game twice to calm the crowd. At one point, Sabalenka yelled at the assembly about respect. The microphones did a poor job of capturing the emotion, but it was still evident. She was no longer just fighting Eala. She was battling perspective. The fear of coming across as the aggressor. Eala, on the other hand, used her poise as a weapon. Every time Sabalenka lost her temper, fans saw that Ari seemed to calm down and remain unflappable. In a widely circulated TikTok video, Ella was seen going back to her chair following a furious argument, saying, "When serenity triumphs over pandemonium." In just a few hours, it garnered more than 1 million views. Sports stations broadcast the incident on multiple occasions. Who went too far was a point of contention among commentators. One anchor said, "We've seen Sabalenka emotional before, but this feels different. This looks personal." The situation was made worse by the press conference held after the game. In a tight voice, Sabalenka answered, "Yes," resonated in a different way. Calm, precise, almost surgical. "I'm here to play tennis. Beyond the points, what happens? I'll let other people decide that." People heard that quote everywhere in the world. After the video was broadcast on numerous networks, fans saw it as a subtle attack. By the next morning, Team Eala and Team Sabalenka were trending side by side in the digital equivalent of a divided arena. The narrative had overtaken the match. It was now a movement, whether they wanted it or not, and both women had become symbols of something much bigger than tennis. The morning after the explosion, the tennis world was in pandemonium. There were no headlines about the score. They are related to the event. Every major outlet had it widely displayed. Sabalenka becomes unmanageable. Eala's calm resistance steals the stage. Videos from every angle flooded social media. Reaction memes, slow-motion edits, and criticism from individuals who hadn't even watched the game. Everybody had an opinion, and every opinion added fuel to the flames. It was an actual nightmare for Aryna Sabalenka. Her organization tried to limit the harm. Despite declarations, justifications, and controlled interviews, no amount of PR could silence the din. A few sponsors quietly expressed concerns about her behavior on the court. One company even halted an unplanned ad featuring her. For a player known for her strength and control, this was out of the ordinary. The spotlight was no longer on her tennis. It's related to her rage. Sabalenka even tried to downplay it. In a post-match interview, she said, "I play with emotion. That's me. I didn't go too far. I answered immediately." Fans, however, were unconvinced. She was seen ranting and had blazing eyes as she approached Eala in the footage. It has a story of its own. In contrast, Alex Eala's silence highlighted the narrative. She didn't say anything more than that. No responses, no social media posts, and no interviews. Her self-control and stillness made her something more powerful than a victor. She came to stand for dignity, composure, and quiet strength, the serenity amid tumult.